Hello everyone, and welcome to season 11 draft reviews time. I think I ran out of things to say already.
Hello, I am back, and we have the same guest as last time, I believe.
Hi, this is the first time I'm actually looking at the teams, and I'm very excited to be here today.
Epic.
It's me, it's Durania.
And yeah, hi. So we're gonna be doing Primordial first because they joined slightly less in the draft.
I don't know about that. They still joined a lot.
Yeah, you guys joined a lot toward the middle, and then just like you slightly joined less in the end of the draft, and that's why you finished first.
Yeah, shoutouts to the honorary Primordial coach, LeChonk. He's my goat. We all love LeChonk.
Shut up. Okay, anyways, let's get started. So first up we have Honch with the first overall pick and the most obvious Magearna of like all time. And it's like the top 4 is scary, but then like afterwards I just see like Terra Swallow is pretty scary as well with Boom Burst.
Terra Swallow is a big threat, yeah. For those who don't know, that Pokemon is like a menace in that deck's UU right now, and like some of you might hear UU and be like, oh wow, okay, that's bad, but keep in mind, Mega Galadas are you in that dex.
Same with the Mega Lotties.
Same with the Mega Lotties, the regular Lotties, Kyurem. So it's like, being in that dex UU is very fucking good, okay? It's like the equivalent of being OU in any other generation, and so Swallow is a huge threat, probably one of the bigger steals, I think, of the draft, because Terra Swallow is a massive threat. But like you said, I'm just not sure about like Torkoal Spite Ups, especially because like Torkoal doesn't add much here besides just, the typing. But I think it's funny because I think Honch suggested to raise Torkoal in price because of, the new synergies with Sun and stuff, but he has like 0 synergy with Sun, so he's essentially just drafting a more expensive Torkoal without the benefits of Torkoal, and like other people can try and abuse his Sun against him. So overall, I'm not a big fan of the Torkoal pick here.
Honestly, I think Sun kind of hurts him more than helps him because Milotic takes your skulls are going to do even less chip, and now you're making fire, your Magearna even more weak to fire. So I really don't like the Sun here, but everything else, it's like, yeah, it's a good team. I think that like Milotic, Gligar are kind of passive as pivots, but I mean they at least can keep.
But they can pivot, right? They have flip turn, U-turn, so I do still very like the top few mons a lot, and I think like if you just look at everything besides Torkoal Spite Ups, I think it's still a very solid team.
Yeah.
I think it's a very Honch team, like with mons with the passive pivots like Melodic and Gligar. I just hope he doesn't trade Magearna toward the end of the season again to a certain person.
Yeah, I think that's what everyone was worried about when he grabbed Magearna round 1. For those who don't know, in season 5 of CDLA, Honch had Magearna and traded it away mid-season. And that was one of the most controversial trades because it's not like he traded it for like a Genesect or another really good S tier. He traded it away for Excadrill. And so people were not happy.
Yeah, it basically
You're missing the important part of that it was traded to you.
Yeah, like Kevin got a stupid busted team. So yeah, I think
overall I think this is still a solid team.
Yeah.
Like you just can't really go wrong with Magearna. And then a late Mega Galade is also very nice because I think Mega Galade is maybe the best Mega in the like regular Mons pool right now. It gained pre-Mega, it gained Sharpness, right? So it's harder for Psychic types to switch into Galade if it hasn't Mega'd yet because they have to deal with potential Sharpness X's or Sharpness Night Slash, right? Which can be interesting, I think. And also just Sacred Sword is a nice move to have. It's like a nice middle ground where you don't, unlike bulk up sets for example, where you don't necessarily want to drop your defensives. Sacred Sword is a very nice alternative to like Brick Break or Drain Punch because of the power difference, I think. So I'm a big Gilly fan here.
Yeah, I was gonna say like his only like true breaker is gonna be Swallow, but then like, you know, Magearna, Zera, Hydra, they all put up like a very like heavy chip, or you know, Magearna, Gallade, those are good win cons. And he has enough win cons to where like he can kind of mix and match and set up spam his way to win.
You can have like 0 win conditions plus a Magearna, and you wouldn't have like a problem finishing games off. So I think that to me was never a concern, because there is a Magearna, which is one of the better, if not the best, like setup sweeper in the tier right now, like in the format. With Shift Gear, Calm Mind, Iron Defense, Training Kiss, Stored Power, Weakness Policy, so many options for this mon to just destroy your team in a matter of like 2-3 turns.
Yeah. And yeah, I think ready to move on?
Yeah.
Alright, next up we have Pluto, who's a newcomer to CDLA, and I'm not sure if this is like as good as Honch's team, but it looks fun to use.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun options, like I think Glaceon, right? With Terra Ice, like Freeze Dry, it can because there's always 1 or 2 teams that are like very weak to Freeze Dry, and I think having a low point, because the main Terra user here is Latios, right? Glaceon is kind of like a very low secondary Terra user, and I think here it works well for like the 1 or 2 matchups where the opponent has no freeze dry switch ins. Garganical is an insane Pokemon. Salt Cure is straight up like broken.
Yeah.
But I think in draft, with Covered Cloak being able to block the secondary effect, it's gonna be more manageable. It's still like a late Garganical is always really nice. It's a good ghost resist. It's just like an all-around really good mon.
I think the Rain Core's a little weird on it, but I don't dislike it.
It's also like a Politoed, so you know, in terms of point commitment, it's not as bad as Pelipper.
Yeah. And it's like Manaphy Overquill, like they can work fine outside of rain, so you're not really committing much to it.
Yeah, they're not
also
traditional raid mons for sure.
Yeah,
They're
it also helps out Genesect being obviously a huge fire weak mon.
Yeah,
it
helps like
weakness.
Yeah,
I also think that Moltres is definitely like fire types are never really good in rain, but Moltres is one of the least bad fire types in rain, in my opinion.
Yeah, Weather Ball, Hurricane, it still benefits from it. Sandy Shucks has Thunder, so it's like it's not a rain team, because every mon here that would benefit from rain also work perfectly fine in rain. Like you don't look at Manaphy and say this is a rain mon. You know, it's just a good Pokemon that happens to benefit from rain. And I feel like that's the case for pretty much every Pokemon here that would benefit from rain, right? Like Genesect with the reduced fire weakness, Sandy Shucks with Thunder, Moltres with Hurricane, Weather Ball. None of these are rain mons, but they all benefit somewhat with rain. So I think a low commitment like Politoed rain works here.
I will say I do think it's a little concerning that like outside of physical Genesect, your best way to like break special fat mons like Chansey is like Hisuian Decidueye or like DD Lottie.
Yeah, I do think this team is very specially biased. Not that many physical attackers, so like you said, Spedef mons like, you know, Chansey can be really annoying, or just like bulky mons in general, being able to just go max HP, max Spedef, and like check it a lot of your team is going to be annoying. I'm looking at, you know, the next team, there's a Screamtail, and it's like max HP, max Spedef Screamtail here is just very hard to break, because you only have Genesect, right? More or less.
Yeah, and even then the Screamtail, like you get Flamethrower, you can do like half on the switch in.
I don't know if it does half. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it does 4 times. I'm talking about outside of rain.
Yeah, outside of rain it might do 50, but yeah, like Screamtail is not here to do damage, so it balances out. But yeah, I think it looks like a fun team. I think on paper it might not be like outright the best team, though. I don't think.
Yeah.
Because it does feel very specially biased, and yeah, that I think can be abused.
Yeah, I agree. Want to move on to the next team then?
Yeah.
Alright, next up we have Arch's team. Oh, there we go. I don't know why, but it feels like a Gen 7 team with like a Zama C and a Screamtail slapped on.
Yeah, I think any Lando T Rotom Wash team will look like, you know, an older team, because I think that's a core that's been there for a while, and then you add like a Mega Venu on there, and it does look a lot like Gen 6. I think Lando T, Rotom Wash, Latias, Mega Venu.
Yeah.
But there's, you know, a few new ones here and there, like Zama and Screamtail. So what are your thoughts on the team?
I want to say like it, don't love it. I think like if it had a like dedicated special breaker, then I think that would be nice. Because like your physical offense like Zamo, Lando, that's pretty good. That should cover most things. But then I feel like something like a Skarmory could be annoying. Well, I guess you have a watch, so that's a bad example.
I mean, I do agree something like Samurai or Celesteela would be annoying just because you don't want to rely on Wash as your way to, like, break things. Like, I do agree that breaking physical Pokemons can be annoying here. Like, I can see a bunch of stuff, like you said Skarmory, but even, like, I don't know if it was drafted, but, Mega Aggron or a lot of the fat steals are going to be annoying here. And, yeah, I
think as well, like, it lacks a little bit of immediate power. It's like a lot of what you get done is like U-turn chip, Leech Seed chip, Volt Switch chip, or like the random like attack from Latias to do like 30, and then you set up. You can just get enough chip until like Zama or Lando can like just clean up by doing 60 to everything.
Yeah, I can see like again having an issue like just breaking through the very bulky Pokemon with this team, and like I think bulky sweepers with like Iron Defense, Calm Mind, or like bulk up Drain Punch can be very scary here because you might not be able to do enough immediate damage to break through those.
And Ditto can't
Annihilate. I think Annihilate is the best example of like a bulky sweeper where it's like this team is gonna struggle with it, and I think the worst part is Ditto can't really do much against those bulkier, slower setup sweepers that rely on like defensive boosts.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say as well. Like a cosmic power and a Necrozma, like once you kill the Incineroar, it looks pretty damn scary here.
Yeah, like stuff like bulk up Drain Punch Palafin, bulk up Annihilate, or like Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Psychic types are all gonna be really scary here.
Any thoughts, Jordan?
Do you have anything to it?
I think it looks like a really fun team on paper, because like. And probably in practice, I mean, like, I love Zamacy. I used it, I think, season 7 or 8, I don't remember. Like, there's a lot of mons that I just really like there, as just in general, but I also think, like, it has, on paper, like, a really strong FDS core, a really strong, like, a very strong Fire, Water, Grass core that isn't too expensive, but, like, they're all kind of around the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can definitely see its weaknesses, but I think it just looks like a really fun team. You have a really cool pivot core and like Lando T, Rotom Wash, Latias. It's like Latias seems like a really good Terra user as well.
Yeah.
So it looks like a very fun team at the very least.
One last thing I want to add though is I know we mentioned the bulkier, slower setup sweepers, but I think Screamtail helps a lot with those because it's pretty fast and has Encore, so it should be able to switch into most of those and be able to lock them into whatever setup move they clicked, and so he does still have counterplay to those. Yeah. It's not going to be like an auto lose to Annihilate, for example.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say it seems like Screamtail's like a very big like glue piece to this team. Not only providing big wishes to your fat Lando T, Wash, Mega Venu, and Sin, but also the fast Encore like you mentioned.
And it's also going to be a nice rocker here for so that Lando T doesn't have to run rocks. But it might be a bit scrubbed for move, because you'll almost always want Encore to not lose to, the aforementioned, like, bulky sweepers, but you also maybe want rocks if you don't want rocks on Lando T. You want Wish, Protect, you want maybe T-Wave, Baton Pass, Momentum, so it does feel like Screamtail will, suffer from move slot syndrome here, and I'm curious to see how well Arch will play around that.
Yeah, same. Alright, I think that's about it for Arch's team. Do you want to move on? Alright. Next up we have Quin's team, and it's kind of like the polar opposite of Arch's team, where he doesn't really have a lot of dedicated bulk, but everything here is kind of a threat.
And I think he has like enough where his team doesn't just crumble under offensive pressure. He has, Finny, Iron Treads, Uxie, which are good defensive options, provide like all the basic utility you need, right? Like hazards, removal, momentum, and so like I don't think he's necessarily, strapped for defensive answers to stuff, especially because a lot of his offensive mons aren't particularly like frail. Stuff like, again, Iron Treads that can be offensive, Dragonite, Roserade, Electros,
I mean,
those
I
are not
would say
super frail mons.
the only ones that I would say that aren't really frail are Treads and D-Knight. Everything else is like pretty frail. Like Roserade, you're not switching into any EQs with that thing. But great.
Well, it's not meant to switch into EQs. I think it comes in on most like bulky waters or most water types and deal with them. Comes in on grass types and pressure them. Like Electros can come in on the ground. Like to me, I think the only mons that are frail are Weavile and Zorg. Like I think even Blaziken isn't the most frail Pokemon. It can definitely like scare things away and set up on them.
Yeah. I like it. I just don't really. I like it. I don't want to say it's like my favorite team though. Favorite team in Primordial though.
I think it's gonna come down to how well Quin can use Mega Blaziken, because I think Mega Blaziken has a lot of potential. And if he's able to position himself to where like Blaziken can win a lot of games, I think this team has like a lot of potential, because you have Weavile, which is a really strong pursuit trapper and can, get rid of a lot of annoying ghost types, psychic types for Blaziken, right? You have Dragonite, who's another very scary setup sweeper alongside Blaziken.
Yeah.
And then you have stuff like Tapu Fini preventing stuff like Chansey from, thunder waving you or toxicing you. So it gives you more opportunities to set up for free.
I think also disguising Zoroark as Blaziken could be very powerful, since they have similar speed tiers and take all the same damage from hazards. So if
and then Zoroark can kill and some psychic types, ghost types that can be annoying. So yeah,
I could see
it's gonna depend on how well he can set up the Blaziken.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I agree. And,
one of the main thing I'd maybe change is maybe Terra Weavile over Dragonite. I feel like
I was gonna actually say that, just because I think on paper, like the immediate offensive pressure of like a Dark and an Ice type that Weavile provides is better than like the long-term set of potential of Dragonite.
Yeah, I just think Weavile's main strength is like the immediate power, right? Like Choice Band did like knockoffs, Triple Axle, Pursuit, or like just after one SD, you can just Oko stuff, and I think Stab, Terra, and Weavile just helps that much more on a Pokemon like that, whereas Dragonite, I think's main strength is more not the immediate power, but just like having the bulk and being able to set up like multiple Dragon Dances and move forward with that. I think if we had like any type Terra, then Dragonite would be the no-brainer answer here.
Yeah.
But because of the Terra rules, I think Weavile might be a better one. And like the main thing you get with Dragonite is like flying Terra Blast, maybe, so that you don't rely on dual Wing Beat. But like dual Wing Beat, is the same base power, and I think Weavile just would have benefited more from Terra here.
I agree. Alright. Anything else, really?
No. The only thing I maybe wanted to add is like, I think a banded like Terra Dark Pursuit can kill stuff that are not weak to Dark on the switch out because of just how strong it is. Like I'm pretty sure you can probably kill a Torn T trying to switch out on you with like Terra Dark Banded Pursuit, and so I think having that option would have been really nice here.
Alright, let's move on.
Iron Tread gets spin, right?
Yes, it gets spin.
Yeah, it gets spin, rocks, full switch, knockoff. It gets
full switch. Ooh.
Yeah, like any type of like utility move you can think of, it probably gets it. So I think it's a really nice mon here.
Yeah, nice.
Alright.
I don't know the new mons very well. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Okay. Alright.
For the viewer at home.
Alright, let's move on then. Unless you have anything else to say, guys.
No, I think we can move on.
Alright, next up we have Raku, who's another newcomer. And it's like a lot of new mons.
Yeah, I think Palafin, Inamoris, Ursulin are three of the mons people were the most excited about. Ursulin and Inamoris being probably the two best ones from PLA.
Yeah.
And then Palafin, one of the best one coming from Scarlet Violet. Maybe even the best Pokemon that's not an S.
Yeah, it really depends. I think the first thing that popped out to me is that your fastest mon is your Mega Latios, which I think if this was Gen 8 or Gen 7, you could get away with having base 110 as your fastest. But with how Gen 9 is, like, there's being so many more Elite Speed mons, I don't really know if that cuts it anymore.
Yeah, this team does feel slow, and it has like no ways of playing around it. Some teams are a bit slower, but then will have, I don't know, webs or trick room to try and have that option. This team is just slow and doesn't like have anything to help it out.
Yeah, it's like I mean, you do have strong priority with Breloom and Palafin, but
yeah,
and I guess like Enamorus, Zoroark, and Enamorus and Heatran are like okay Scarfers.
But yeah, I do think it's gonna be hard, and it might not end up being enough, right? You really rely on your priority here to revenge kill stuff, and that's never what you want.
Yeah, and I also don't really think Magnezone was necessary here. It feels like it was more so here. It's more so here for the typing rather than what it does, as you already have really good steel killers. I don't like Ursaluna, Breloom, Heatran should deal with pretty much every good steel around.
Yeah. I think the main idea is like, okay, I want my Ursaluna to do work. What's the biggest answer to Ursaluna? Oh, mons like Skarmory, Corviknight, I guess I'll go Magnezone, right? But I do think, like you said, with mons like Heatran, you didn't really need a Magnezone here.
Yeah, and even
I think in theory, Magnezone could just be dropped for a fast electric type and something else, like a web setter, a cheap web setter to patch the speed issue.
Something like a Calm Mind, Hidden Power Jolteon, or with like a shit web setter. And I think that's
Swadloon is on the board. I'm just throwing it out there.
I don't think Swadloon would be what you want here, but I do think finding a way to get more speed here would have been nice. But I think speed aside, this team does look very threatening and very scary to face.
Yeah.
Enamorus has one of, if not the strongest, like Moonblast right now. I think like Specs Enamorus Moonblast is going to be very hard to switch into. Palafin is scary as fuck. I mean, that Pokemon, I don't know why it exists. Heatran is a great mon. It's always been a great mon. It has like Rocks, Taunt, Magma Storm. It's just, there's not much to that. It's just a solid Pokemon.
I think as
Mega
well.
Latias, I think, works well with Heatran too.
Yeah,
Covers all the weakness.
I think as well. I think I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more pivoting, because right now, like Palafin is your really only good like consistent momentum on. I guess Magnezone too, but
does Enamorus not get U-turn?
Enamorus
doesn't get. Yeah, I don't know if it gets Baton Pass. I know Latias gets Baton Pass, so you can maybe do that. But I do agree.
Run out of things.
Yeah, I do agree. Momentum here is a bit lackluster, so you might, find yourself having to make a lot of like double switches or just raw switch and try to not take too much damage, and that can be an issue. I think something to get Palafin in for free would have been nice. Something to get Ursaluna in for free would have been nice. And yeah. So overall, I think this team has potential. There's a lot of very strong Pokemons, but it doesn't really come together super well. There's a few gaps, right? Like, it definitely needs more speed. I think more momentum would have been nice too.
Yeah. Alright, anything else?
I think the only like good thing about Magnezone is that it is that slow pivot to get in Palafin, like Ursaluna. It's also just not really slow enough, and it's also it's not supposed to be a very bulky Pokemon. So I don't even think it does that particularly well.
Yeah. But we'll see how this turns out.
Alright, moving on to AJ. And after making many trades, he finally settled with this, and I really like it.
It reminds me a lot of like Gen 7 teams or like Gen 8 Natix teams with mons like Mega Medicham, Ferrothorn, Tapu Koko. And then usually you'd have like Ashgren. Here you have Samurath, which is, a Copium Ashgren here. Dark Water that sets up spikes, you know what I mean? You have your, Donphan, that's a Copium Landoti. But like, I think the team structure does remind me a lot of, those Gen 7 teams, Gen 8 Nat decks, and then you have Dragapult, which is another OU staple. And overall, I think this team looks very good. There's no real big flaws that come to mind immediately, I don't think.
I think offensively, Pult, Mega Medi, Coco, Iron Moth is already a bitch to deal with, and you have Snorlax, which can be a massive problem for some teams.
And then I think defensively, Donphan, Ferrothorn, Snorlax are kind of is also very sound, right? This team is definitely more offensive, but I also don't think it's just gonna die to any Pokemon out there. There's still some defensive soundness to it, which is very nice.
Even the offensive monster, they aren't super frail to the point where they die to any strong neutral hit. It usually has to be super effective to kill them.
Yeah.
I think I also want to mention something that I just looking at it immediately is it's a team where I feel really anyone could come any week, except Knockout, anyone could come any week and still be effective. Whereas there are definitely some teams where it's okay, I can see the 6 that you're bringing every single week. This team definitely has very good variety.
Yeah.
I think Webs as well helps to you already were fine on speed, but Webs kind of guarantees that no one can really deal with your Scarf. If you have an opposing Scarfer, then it's kind of hard to deal with something like Pole or Coco or Moth, because Webs will slow down your Scarf.
Yeah. I also like electric terrain here. Obviously, there's the obvious core drive plus electric terrain, but then there's also stuff like Mega Medicham Thunder Punch, you break through some flying types that can be annoying. Dragapult, T-Bolt, it can help with Mandibuzz, for example, and so I don't think terrain here really hurts you. Unlike the Torkoal we were talking about earlier, where it's Sun hurt you more than anything. I think here the electric terrain works, and I think just Coco in general with Mega Medicham Pult works very well.
At worst, the worst interaction I can think of is Snorlax not being able to rest on curse sets, but even then, Snorlax is usually a long-term, more of a long-term thing, and by that point, terrain should be over, or close to it at least.
Yeah. And you can also just play around that, So overall, I think I really like this team. Yeah. I think it's definitely one of the stronger teams we've seen so far.
Yeah, I agree. Alright, anything else?
That's it for me.
Alright, let's move on to Rog. And this time his theme is the birds.
I can't believe I didn't pick up on that.
I was after round 2, it's why are you getting Quackleval, Rog?
I literally looked at the team and I was I don't even know what the theme is this time. What is the theme? Okay.
So yeah, like we mentioned, Rog usually draft theme-based, teams, and this time the theme was birds. So, yeah, those are birds. It's hard to analyze this team because it doesn't really look like a team; it just looks like a bunch of mons.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this?
Certainly as a team, I mean, I think there
are only 4 flying types, which is kind of impressive for 11 mon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Porygon 2 is gonna have to do a lot of lifting here, as it's the fat mon glue.
I mean, I think Porygon plus Altaria plus Skarmory, I think should take on a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll struggle too much defensively. I'm just worried about how you're gonna break through stuff, because I think Bundle is a very, very good mon, but the main thing it will struggle against is just very bulky special mons, right? Stuff like Snorlax, Chansey, I don't know, even stuff like Hariyama, right? Big AV mons. And I don't know if you have the best ways to break those, right? Quackleval is okay, but because you rely a lot on Aqua Step, you'll like miss out on a lot of the kills. It feels like. Kill Watchful is an okay Pokemon. I'm not sure about it being one of the Terramons here. Same thing for. I mean, no, actually, Staraptor I think is gonna be one of the better like mons here.
I think it's gonna do a lot of heavy lifting by like just tearing and then Reckless Sprayford or Double Edge or whatever. And just kill shit. I think with like Terra Staraptor, you can probably trade 2 for 1.
But it's gonna take a lot in recoil, right? So
yeah.
I think one thing I like feel like could have been nice is a Pelipper on this team, because you have stuff like, from what I understand, Kilowattrel really likes it, because like Thunder and Hurricane. It helps boost Iron. Helps boost Iron Bundle a little bit. It removes like a really big weakness of Skarmory, Decidueye, and obviously just being a bird team, you're going to have a lot of Hurricane users. So just in general, having Rain could be really nice.
But at the same time, you would be stacking even more electric weaknesses together.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I don't know.
I feel like usually these themed teams work really well if Rock has like one of two like really strong like win conditions. For example, on his mono bug teams, he had stuff like Mega Pinsir, Pheromosa, I think. And it's like, even if the rest of the team is generally weaker, if he finds the right opportunity to set up one of those, he can just like win the game even if he's down like 4 or 5 months, right? Like as long as he has like his win con and he's able to set it up, he can kind of just, flip the cards on people. I don't really see that here. I don't think he has any like big win con where it's like you give it 1-2 turns and it just like completely flip the script and sweeps you.
I would say closest is probably Mega Altaria or Espathra. But Espathra is kind of a matchup fish without Terra Blast.
Yeah, without Terra Blast, Espathra is like...
Well, Terra Blast and non-stab Terra.
Yeah, Espathra just has a very hard time breaking through most steals, so I don't think it's gonna be as big as like an issue as like on the ladder, right? Because you just don't really deal with most steals. And then
hey, I'm just saying Quaquaval. Give that another couple turns.
Even then, Quaquaval I think will also have a very hard time just winning games on its own.
Yeah. For the inevitable rogue comment about Quaquaval.
Yeah, I feel like he's kind of just missing that like very strong, very scary like win condition, and I think that's kind of the problem he had last season, where I think last season his Ash team was more well-rounded than like the Mono Bug team he had the season before that. But I think the Mono Bug team had more of these like instant win conditions, right? That can at any moment just flip the script and win. And I think he's also missing this year, so he might have a harder time, I think, because he has to play, the standard game, and I think the team is just generally weaker if it has to play, the standard game.
I agree. Anything else before we move on?
No, that was it.
Right.
I think this is the weakest team, but like, it kind of makes sense when you're trying to build a theme team, right? When other people are just trying to draft the best team they can.
Yeah. Alright, next up we have Banana, and that top 3 in Mamoswine is really, really scary.
Yeah. Offensively, this team definitely is threatening.
Yeah.
The Axis attack, I'm surprised it lasted that long. Mega Diancie, I'm surprised it lasted that long. And then I can't really say the same for the rest of the team. I think it's more in line more in line with standard drafts, but I think the top 3 make this team very threatening. I'm not a big fan of the other options Banana opted with here. I think Fortress, Mandibuzz feel more passive compared to the offensive Pokemons, but they do have the benefit of having pivot moves to be able to get the Oxygen, get Diancie, and get Urshifu in, which is nice.
I don't think it's that big of a deal that Mandibuzz and Fortress are here. I do think that Noivern and Galvantula just feel a bit more of a win more button. I don't really know if you need webs. I mean, it's nice, but I think Deoxys' bigger concern is strong priority.
Yeah.
I think something like Indeedee later on would have been nice here to block that. And also helps with Bullet Punch for Diancie. But again, you have like Mammoth Wine and Ursh, like they like priority, so I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Webs is a bad thing here because, like you said, it helps Ursh and Mammoth Swine. Even Diancie, I think, appreciates Webs because it doesn't have to worry about a lot of Scarfers. It can just go Calm Mind and not have to worry about, like, Rock Polish.
Yeah. I think a different dragon maybe could have fit here better because Noivern feels like it does pretty similar things to Mandibuzz.
Yeah, Noivern does feel out of place. I think Noivern and Houndstone are the main two ones here that really feel out of place to me. Everything else, I think, does work well together. But yeah, I would change Noivern and Houndstone here, but I know he drafted Houndstone just because he likes the Pokemon, and so, like, you know, you can't really argue against that. It's like telling Rock, yeah, I don't really like the birds, but it's like, I mean, that's just the whole purpose of the team, so you can't really argue against it. Yeah.
I like it, but I think the big thing is that there's just like some mons that feel out of place here that can be changed or rearranged.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing.
And I guess one other thing that just popped in my mind as well is that, like, it's not really like a massive concern, but your walls are very passive. But again, like you said, you have the pivot moves. And
I also think that's just player preference. As much as Banana complains about like stall and stuff, he's one of the most passive players I know. He loves his like passive walls, I think. His ideal draft would always have like Fortress, Florges, and stuff like that. He likes having like, okay, this is my physical wall, this is my like special one and stuff. So I do think it's funny when he complains about stall. And I will always call him out on this.
Yeah, I think that's all I can really think of for Banana's team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's good.
Let's
it doesn't really look like a banana team at first, but like I respect it.
Alright, let's move on to Div. And Div opted to not get an S tier this time. And this just feels like such a Div team with the Gmold Ceruledge.
I'm surprised he didn't Terra the Garchomp. I think Garchomp is one of the scarier Terramons in the pool. Because you have options like Terra Dragon, Dice, Scale Shot, right, on SD sets. And it's like, that was the biggest problem SD Garchomp had with SD Scale Shot, is that your, Ghost Stab isn't super reliable. But then Dice plus Terra Dragon means your Scale Shot is a guaranteed 100 base power, and then with the Terra Power boost, that's like a guaranteed 100, I think 33 base power, because Terra is like a 33% boost. And I think like that's a pretty big thing, right? You can also have like just stronger EQs if you wanted to go Terra Ground, and so like I think the raw power of Terra Garchomp probably is more useful than like the versatility you get from having like two Terra users, in my opinion.
At the same time, though, I'm thinking like Ceruledge, you get a bit better of a Ghost Stab, and it makes like you can do like Terra Ghost, and then you still have Flash Fire. And I think with like Gmold and Ceruledge, they can still abuse Terra pretty well. You give them.
I don't think they're bad, and I think if he had any other like high-end mon, I would agree with this. I just think Garchomp is one of like the standout Terra users for me.
That's fair.
And so I feel like it would have been better than Gmold Ceruledge. Besides that, I mean, this is just you can kind of see the game plan already. Goldengo Glimmora, this team wants to get hazards up and then abuse a lot of scary Pokemons like Garchomp, Goldengo, Gmold, Ceruledge, Megalopony. This is a very offensive team with a Slowbro.
I will say though, like, he has no removal whatsoever. So if he ends up in like Hazard Stack Wars, I could see that being annoying. Like, especially Spikes.
I mean, I think the idea here was never. I don't think he ever planned on removing hazards here. I think the idea is very clear. It's like, I'm gonna get my hazards up, and you can get yours, but I will like overwhelm your team. I think that's the idea here. He does have
I can
Mortal
see that.
Spin Glamora.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
forgot
gonna say. I was gonna
Ignora.
say.
I forgot
Yeah.
that move existed.
And
Doesn't
like-
Moltres get defog?
No, Gmult doesn't.
no,
Oh, oops.
but and he can also just you know, run boots on
I
this
think,
stuff.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think this is gonna be a team that loves boots a lot.
I also think he doesn't have a lot of mons that mind run. I guess. Like I don't know about that actually.
I mean, yeah, no, I think it's true. I think most monsters here don't mind running boots.
But
Like Sterilage, I think Sterilage is like probably just runs boots most of the time anyways. Same thing with Slowbro. Clefable has like, you know, Magic Guard. Like I do think, you know, most monsters don't really mind running boots. It still would have been nice as an option though, I do agree with that, but I don't think it's that big of a deal because, you know, there's a Glamora Guldango. I think that's it's pretty clear what he's trying to do here.
No, I agree.
I do think like the lower tier mons are kind of interesting. I don't know if it's a bad interesting though. Like I don't know why Zipstrike is there, aside from being
I
like a
think
filler
it's
electric
just-
type.
Yeah, I think it's just he didn't have that many points left, and he was like, I can, you know, use
Yeah.
some speed here. And so he grabbed that. And, like, yeah, he did kind of need a bit of speed there, so I don't
That's
think
fair.
it's that bad here. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. This team is gonna be really like I think hit or miss in a lot of games where it's like either I'm sweeping you or if I struggle breaking a bit, then like in the long run this team probably just loses. But I do think Dave plays very offensively a lot of the time anyways, and like a lot of his games end up like that anyways, where it's like if I'm unable to like just win and sweep, like he just loses in the long run.
Yeah.
So
and I think he has
I
enough
do think-
offensive like he has enough setup to like shit out like, oh, the first step sweeper died, go into the next one, so on and so forth, and eventually that'll
Mhm.
win. So I don't think it's that big of
Yeah.
a deal, but yeah.
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how this turns out.
Alright, let's ready to move on.
Yeah.
Next up we have Rage, and it's a scary team.
Yeah. Mega Megagross Terra Tornadus, so Tornadus T gets either Terra Blast or just like Bleak Wind Storm as a slightly more accurate moves boosted by Terra, so like its flying stabs are gonna be really, really hard to switch into now. Another one of the I think better Terramons.
Yeah.
And I think he did a good job, choosing it. And then you have mons like Tinglu, which are incredibly annoying.
Such a piece of shit to kill.
It's like impossible to OHKO that Pokemon unless you're like without setup or anything. I don't think there's anything in the game that can OHKO that Pokemon. It's just ridiculous. Volcarona is always a threatening Pokemon. Vaporeon is Vaporeon. G-Weeze I think is nice here for like defog, T-Spikes.
Yeah.
Takes pressure off of Torn Teeth to remove hazards, which is nice. Circuitry, I don't really know why it's here, but
I
it is.
I think he just wanted a water killer, and it's like it's fun, it has tail glow, you can do
Yeah,
something with
and
it.
it has tail glow. It still has HP Ice in this format, so like it's not a bad Pokemon. I just think it's certainly a Pokemon that exists.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put
It's
it.
kind of weird without C though.
I mean, even it's like one of the weirder Pokemon.
Yeah.
I think it has a weird combination of like move pool and stats, where it's like it's in that awkward speed tier, and so it's just a weird Pokemon. I think overall the team is just it's very solid.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't have much more to add. I don't see any like big glaring weakness to this team.
I'm a big fan of like how it has a lot of immediate offensive pressure with good setup.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not a lot, but actually no. Circuitry, Mega Metagross, Tortee's not bad.
And like the
But with
setup,
good setup options as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say
With,
like the setup sweepers are mons where if you give them a free turn, then they can just spiral out of control extremely easily.
Yeah, Volcarona.
I also really like how it has a very solid defensive backbone to back up its offensive sweepers with like Tinglu, Vaporeon.
You don't even need like a defensive backbone. You just need Tinglu. That is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's true.
Pokemon is so stupid. It's insane.
Does that one get reliable recovery?
No.
Thank God.
And it has, so that team has a Vaporeon.
Yeah.
With Flip Turn. Okay.
Yeah, Vaporeon Tinglu is just gonna be like incredibly annoying.
Yeah.
And
that's why I like Vape on the team.
Yeah, and it's not even like something like Kartada is particularly amazing in this matchup because like you're forced to run Smart Strike for Chiwis, like you need Air Lace for Volcarona, Torrentee can come in and scare you out. It's like even things that like you would think with Pressure Tinglu Vaporeon like don't have it that easy.
Yeah. I think this team is just very solid, very good. Probably one of the better ones. And it's like, I think it's a contender for like our top 3 teams that we'll do at the end of this.
Yeah. Alright, anything else?
No.
Right.
I think that was about it.
Alright, now we can move on to Will's team. There we go. And it looks a lot like his previous season team. Because he had
it's a lot. I think the first 5 mons on this team are like incredible. Like all of them are perfect at what they do.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think it's kind of goes wild, but I don't think it matters at that point. You know what I mean?
Even
like
then, I think like I like the lower picks as well. Like Thundy T's great Terra user. You get Terra Flying Stab.
Yeah.
Secondary setup threat to Naga.
Yeah, Persian is an okay like pivot. Has it's fast taunt, foul play, so it's okay.
Comfy is
the down spars is okay there too.
Decent. Comfy can be a good win con if the opponent has like bad fairy resists, and then even like Bramble Gas, like it's not good, but with Terra you get actual Ghost Stab, you have Rapid Spin spikes, so it's like it can do things.
It has Leech Seed and Strength Stab, so it can definitely be annoying against a lot of physical attackers. But yeah, I just think
so. It's not like it matters how good it is.
Yeah.
I just think the first 5 on this team are just incredible, and like he could have drafted just a bunch of 1-pointers in the back. I don't think it would have mattered. I think the first 5 are just amazing, and the first 5 just do everything.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah. But it's like, like going back to what Hazy was saying, like there's a lot of the later picks like do support the mons like okay, with like Alolan Persian with Parting Shot comes to mind, just being able to get in a mon like Scissor in for not free, but like
soft,
relatively easily.
Yeah. I really like the team.
Yeah. Again, and besides that, there's just not much shot because the first time just do everything. You know what I mean? Hazard, removal, setup, immediate power, pivot.
I would say immediate power is like maybe like it's not the best at it, but even then, like Thundy T hits hard. Great Tusk, you can run offensive.
Great Tusk hits like incredibly hard.
You can even do shit like Specs Boomburst to Dunsparce, and that hits pretty hard.
Yeah, so like,
it's really not even a complaint.
Yeah, I don't think this team has any like glaring weakness you can abuse, and it's just gonna be like a solid team. Anyway. I have been saying that a lot, but that's essentially there's not much to add. It's a very solid team, and yeah.
All right. Ready to move on?
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have SirKill, and it's also a scary team.
I think Terra Valiant is gonna be one of the most broken Pokemon in the tier, in the format. It's like that Pokemon already is hard to deal with because you have to kind of play this guessing game of is it gonna be special, is it gonna be physical, and it's like the extra power Terra gives you is just gonna make this so much more, threatening.
Yeah.
And it's like, we've already seen that, I think, in the other division. I don't want to spoil too much, but all I'm gonna say is the other Valiant already has 5 kills, and that's all I'm gonna say. Hey, the other Valiant has 5 kills so far, and week 1 technically still hasn't started. So, it started today, but yeah.
just trying to think of
Valiant.
things I don't really like about the team, and like there's not really much that comes to mind.
Yeah, Valiant is incredible. Chi-Yu, oh my god. Don't get me started on this Pokemon. If any of you have played OU for like the past month and a half, you know how stupid that Pokemon is. Good god.
I don't think it's as good in draft as it is on ladder, but it's still very good and a very good breaker that I think it complements Valiant pretty well by being a good psychic killer.
Yeah, it's an incredible Pokemon. And then the next two, Zapdos, Meowscarada. I love those two Pokemon. Zapdos, I mean, I don't need to add anything to it. It's Zapdos. Meowscarada, I think, is very nice speed. It can hit you in protein U-turns and just chip away at your team. It has knockoff, which is always good. It's just fast, you know what I mean? I think it outruns stuff like Greninja, Tornadoes, common elite speed mons. And then it has stuff like spikes. I don't know if it has T-spikes.
No, it doesn't. I don't think it's regular.
But it just has like a bunch of weird support options like Leech Seed, Spikes, Taunt. Oh, it does have T-spikes. It has Trick. So it's like, I think in draft this Pokemon has a lot of potential, and like I know in VGC surprisingly, Overgrowth Meowscarada is like I think the most used Pokemon right now. Just because of the general utility that comes with being fast and having a strong like Flower Trick, which is an incredibly useful move, right? Always crits, never misses, like, and it's not contact, so you can't even like Rocky Helmet your way through it. So it's like just a very spammable move, and I think this Pokemon is just all around really good. Yeah. And then, like, everything on this team is solid, right? I know he loves Mega Garchomp. It's very solid Pokemon. Galarian Slowbro is a surprisingly good Pokemon because with a high attack, you can do stuff like AV with, like, Drain Punch, and that allows you to always check stuff like Kyurem because Drain Punch just heals you too much for Kyurem to break through you. That inspires this crazy utility for 1 point and, has momentum, has rocks, glare. Blastoise is good utility, can sweep with like Shell Smash. Every mon on this team is, I think, does its job very well.
Yeah, and it's like you can mix and match like what they do as well, which I think is really nice for draft.
And I think that's kind of crazy how Chi-Yu is a really good Terra user, and it's not even the this team. But it's not like it's bad that it's not a Terra user.
Terra was not allowed on Chi-Yu, thank God.
Oh, okay, that explains a lot. Oops.
Yeah, this Pokemon does not need Terra.
So yeah, in case you couldn't tell, I'm not actually in the season. I just came along to mess up draft analysis.
Epic.
If you've made it this far, comment down below, Grr, I hate Darunia, with 3 R's to the Grr. That way we know you're a real viewer. You're a real one.
I thought it was 6.
No, 3 R's only. The fake ones are gonna come in Grr with 6 R's, but we're gonna be able to real ones in the comments.
True.
Move on now.
Yeah.
Alright. Next up we have your team, Kevin, so why don't you tell us about it?
I drafted round 1 Glowking because I thought it would be funny, and I also just really wanted to use, the new Glowking with now hazards with T-spikes. It has momentum with Chilly Reception, so it's like someone at Game Freak looked at this Pokemon and was like, what if we buffed it, right? And then they were like, what is it missing? Hazards and momentum. Huh, interesting. And they just gave it everything it needed, so I thought it was going to be a cool mon to use. I did not draft Megaladios round 2, that's after I made some trades, but, I think this is just like a team.
Yeah, I don't think it's one of your better teams, honestly.
I think it's still like, a solid team. It has everything you'd need.
Yeah,
but,
it's still good. It's just not like nothing's
it doesn't have
screaming.
It doesn't have any like standout like broken Pokemon again. Yeah. Also, I do think Sneasler is broken, but we'll see. And yeah, it's a Scent team. There's not much to add. There's Extrial T-Tar, and then you have a strong Fire type to break through annoying steals like Skarmory. You have, Eladios. Like, it's just I think a pretty standard Scent team with standard Scent team stuff.
I do think it's kind of funny that, like, you can potentially mess up your own Sand with Cloaking Chilly Reception, But I don't think like that's pretty easy to like maneuver out of. So I just think that's funny more than anything.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm excited to use Arboliva. I think it's gonna be a fun Pokemon to use.
What was the thought process behind that, making it Terra? Curious.
The thought process is, I have Terra Blacephalon, and now I have 5 points left, and I can either Terra Rotom Fan or Arboliva plus Illumise. And I thought Arboliva plus Illumise would be funnier.
True.
That
okay,
is,
you know what?
That is the thought process.
It's like I think like Hera Arboliva could be okay too, because you can just drop the fighting weakness if you really need to.
Yeah, it helps me check some ground types, and I also just think, like the Pokemon hits hard, so like being able to, especially if I come in on an attack, set up the terrain, like a Terra Grass like Leaf Storm is gonna hurt. Same thing for like a Terra Normal like Hyper Voice, it's gonna hurt, and so I don't think this is a bad Terra user. So why not? I think it's better than Rotom Fan.
I also forgot that Rotom Fan doesn't technically get Terra Blast because no, it does. It's in the game. Never mind.
It does. It's in the game, but it's just like
I will say like this team definitely looks like a Kevin team, like with shit like Glow King, Round 1 Glow King, Primarina, Sandcore.
Yeah, so I think it's just a pretty standard Sand team with some mods I like Blacephalon and Primarina Glow King.
Yeah. It's a comfortable Kevin team, and I think a team that Kevin is comfortable with is a very scary one.
I think just the team structure is very standard. Like you have T-Tar Drill, you have your Fire Tap, you have your Latios, you have like a Water Mon to take water hits. Like it's pretty standard Sun team. What is Sneasel on there? I think Sneasel is the only thing that's not super standard on Sun, and so I think that can potentially do some things. Because Sneasel is a strong Pokemon, and it's a fast Pokemon.
Yeah.
I think one of the better Pokemons coming out of Legends Arceus, and I'm excited to use it.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to say on it. It's just like it's like a good team. It's not like, oh shit, this is like the scariest thing ever, but it's like it's well constructed. I do think like maybe grounds could be like strong grounds that can somehow like hit Megalot. Like basically like Mammo, it does look a little bit like Mammo food, but it's kind of hard to not make your team Mammo food.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's all I can really think of to complain about. Alright, let's move on then.
Yeah.
Next up we have Chickidy.
I feel like the first 3 have already been drafted together. Like this does feel familiar. Pheromosa, Tapu Lily, Corviknight.
I want to say this team, like, if you replace Corviknight with Celesteal, this just feels like a Gen 7 team.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty well balanced team. Corviknight, Gastrodon, Silvally, I think should be able to take on most offensive Pokemons. I also really like the new Gastrodon.
Yeah, with spikes and rocks.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I'm not really a super huge fan on is the Terra Gastrodon. I think maybe Drapion could have better with that.
I think Gastrodon here is clutch because if you look at your ice resists, right? They don't exist.
Oh, okay, I see now.
So I think Terra Water Gastrodon gives you a nice option against that, and it's like you don't really have any other Terra options. Really.
I was gonna say like maybe Drapion could be okay with it.
I don't think you can Terra Gastrodon plus Drapion.
It's Gastrodon plus Delmise. It's Gastrodon plus Delmise, so you can do Delmise and Drapion are both 9.
Oh. Yeah, I think Gastrodon is just better than Drapion. I don't know. Like, Drapion benefits a lot from its dual typing, so I don't think it would really benefit that much from Terra.
I guess, yeah.
It's not, like, I think Drapion's main strength is not, like, the offensive power, but more so just the general utility with Taunt, Knockoff, T-Spikes. I think Gastrodon being able to resist ice would benefit more from Terra.
I can see that.
And then I think Delmise is just like an incredibly scary Pokemon with Terra. Terra Ghost, Poltergeist, Terra Grass, like Power Whips. This Pokemon I think you don't see it too often, but it's incredibly hard to switch into.
Yeah.
And like when it does work, it does a lot of work.
I don't know if you've already talked about like Lele, but I like Lele just avoiding priority or preventing priority from touching Pheromosa. I think they have a very good Fireward Aggress. Third Drain Steel Core. Fireward Aggress is already 2. Like it looks like a very fun team, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's all I really have.
And I think Charizard is a very, very like threatening Pokemon always.
Yeah.
And you have ways to weaken teams to put them in Charizard territory, right? Tapu Lele is a great like wall breaker. Pheromosa is a great like fast pivot to weaken stuff. I think Gen 9 Gastrodon is gonna be amazing because it was already a very good Pokemon before. Like I think in Gen 7. It was in OU like for a few months because it's able to check pretty much any special attacker, even stuff like, Magearna. And the only thing it was really missing is like any sort of utility. And now they gave it Rocks and Spike, so it's like that Pokemon is crazy now. Kind of just does everything. I'm a big Soul Valley fan, and I think it's always nice to have a Soul to round off your team, cover any weakness you might have, because like even if they didn't have Terra Gastrodon, Soul Valley Steel, Soul Valley Water would have helped with steals, which is always nice. And I just think like it's a defogger, it's a pivot, so it just helps a lot with the general structure of the team. And yeah, it's just a solid team. There's not much else to add, I don't think.
I think like another pivot would have been nice. But it's kind of, again, that's more of a win more complaint because you already have Core, Pharaoh, Raikou.
Yeah, you have Pharaoh, Corviknight, Soul Valley, Raikou. I don't think it needs another pivot. I think it's more than fine as it is. I just think it's a very solid team, and Terra, Water, Gas, because like I think Lele cannot Terra. Pheromosa cannot Terra, so it's like you didn't really have that many other like better options, and so having Terra, Water, Gastrodon as a way to deal with Ice type is very nice.
Yeah. Other than that, it's a good team.
Yeah, it's.
I think it's interesting because like this is the only example that I think we've seen so far of like a defensive Terra user instead of an offensive Terra user, which makes sense considering we only allowed the Terra into the same type.
Yeah.
Ready to move on?
Yeah.
Alright, next up we have Maik.
This just feels like a very Maik team. I think Vikavolt is a Maik Pokemon. Sandslash is a Maik Pokemon. Gengar is a Gen 1 Pokemon, so by default it's a Maik Pokemon.
That's crazy.
Crocodile's a Maik Pokemon, I feel.
Yeah. Fun fact, I think Maik wanted to draft Goodra around like 3 or 4, and I was like, you can wait on that Pokemon. Nobody is gonna draft it. And guess what? Nobody drafted it.
I like the Terra Vikavolt here, because like Dorian was saying with the Gastrodon, I think that's another defensive use of Terra, because you can do Terra Electric and drop your bug weaknesses, and now you have no weakness, and reliable recovery, and hit really hard.
Yeah, Delphox also allows you to click big, like Fire Blast and stuff. I think personally I still would have Terra either like Zapdos or Gengar over those, just because I think funny buttons. But I think it comes down to their preference, and I feel like Maik probably brings Vikavolt more, knowing Maik. You know what I mean? He loves that Pokemon. Besides that, I think Greninja is gonna be interesting. This is the first time we have like all the Greninjas in one, and there's the new Battle Bond that no one has really used before. Like, you can in theory mon all you want, like nobody really knows how it's gonna do because nobody has ever really used it for an extended period of time, right? It's not allowed on any ladder besides, and actually I think it's allowed in like Nadex OU, regular Nadex OU, but I don't know if it's particularly good there. It was UU last month, so it's like
people probably just forgot about it.
Yeah, I feel like at this point nobody really knows how the mon is gonna do, so I think it's gonna be interesting to see. Mega Mawile being drafted for the first time since forever because that Pokemon was banished to the Shadow Realm and just came back to us this season. It's going to be interesting to see that. There is a nerf to Rillaboom. That is also going to be interesting. Let's see how well it does without, the Grassy Glide, right? Well, no, it does have Grassy Glide, but it's weakened. So let's see how well that does. I think Rillaboom was nice here to weaken EQs for like Mega Mawile mainly.
And Gengar as well.
Well, Gengar, I don't think he's really taking EQ well, even in Terran. So
it makes it from like dying to like taking 80, which is good enough for Gengar, I think.
Yeah. And
one
go ahead.
thing I am not really a big fan of is that there's not really much removal, and I don't think there's like a ton of mons here that love running boots besides like Vikavolt. Like I think like Rillaboom, Gyapdos, Gengar, Croak, they'd all rather run other items.
Yeah,
so
I think the main reason Sense Slashes here is just for the spin because he already had a Croak, right? So like I think towards the end of his draft, I was like, oh, maybe I need some removal, so he grabbed the Sense Slash.
Yeah. And so I think spikes could be really annoying for Maik to deal with because a lot of his team is grounded.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think hazards will be annoying here. And like unlike Div, he doesn't really have any like compensation for it. Whereas Div, I think he had like better hazard setting. And like a lot of offensive monsters try to abuse you setting up hazards. I don't think this team has the same counterplay against hazard.
Like it has the offense to bounce back, so like to force you to not set up hazards, but it doesn't have like better hazard setting.
But knowing Maik, I don't think he'll really care bringing like Sun Slash every other week just for removal because it's a Gen 1 Pokemon, and for those of you who don't know Maik, he's old. He loves Gen 1. So yeah. He's one, like him and Rog are the only ones I can see like drafting mons like Scyther and a bunch of other like Gen 1 mons like Articuno and stuff. They love Gen 1 because they're old. But yeah. This team could use some more removal, maybe more like pivoting and a lot of things you usually see in draft, like pivots, hazard removal. This team feels a lot more like a Maik team, but I think he can make it work. And I think last time he had Mega Mawile, he made finals with it. But we don't talk about what happened to the Mega Mawile finals. We don't.
That's crazy.
Nobody talks about what happened to the Mega Mawile finals.
Are we ready to move on?
And yeah, I think this is the last team for this division now.
Yep. Now we got Psycho. Wait. At first when he was drafting this, I was like, what the hell is he cooking? But now it kind of makes sense together, I think.
Yeah. He has the 1 point Grafai, and I know a lot of people were like, why is it 1 point, whatever. It probably should have been like 2 or 3, but I don't think should be much more higher than that. I think it's very comparable to a Pokemon like Lumise, which is a traditional 1-pointer in most other leagues, where it has like a lot of nice prankster utility, like and core mainly, and then Grafai has stuff like Taunt Knockoff, whereas Lumise has stuff like more longevity with Roost. It has Defog, Wish. So like I think both Pokemon are very similar, and they have like some differences, like Grafai having a bit more of an offensive presence but being more frail, whereas Lumise I think is bulkier, has recovery, and then has different options. Like I think it has Heal Bell, I think it has usually a bunch of other stuff. But what I forgot is that Lumise is 2 here. I thought it was 1. I planned my draft with 1 point Lumise, but it's 2. So I think Grafai also probably should have been 2 or 3. It shouldn't be lower than Lumise. But yeah.
This team kind of feels like it just shit up setup sweepers until something works.
Yeah, there is a Spectre, there's a KB, there's a Hisuian Ligand, Cleaver is nice for hazards.
Similar things again.
Yeah. I think he has some nice utility with like mons like Slowking that can set up health to give Kyurem like a defense boost.
And Blizzards.
He has stuff like Tinkaton with like Encore T-Wave rocks. Grafai again for like Encore, Cyclizar with Taunt, Knockoff, U-Turn.
Thundy
he has a lot of nice
T-Wave Taunt.
Yeah, he has a lot of very nice utility options for them eat. And then still has like some scary offensive Pokemons like Terra Thundurus, Spectrier, Kyurem B, Hisuian Illigant. So overall, I think it's a very, very well-rounded team. It's a very it's a draft team, you know what I mean? There's a lot of pivot options, and that's just like draft in a nutshell, right? You have Volt Switch Rotom, Teleport, because it still has Teleport here, and Chilly Reception Slowcane, U-Turn Lilligant, U-Turn Cleaver, U-Turn Cyclozar, U-Turn and Volt Switch Thundurus, U-Turn Grafia, you know what I mean? This is a draft team, if I've ever seen one. Very solid and very typical, I think, draft team. Has good utility, good offensive Pokemon.
I wonder how KB will do with loaded dice, because I think that kind of alleviates its problem in Gen 8, where, you know, yeah, sure, you have this physical stab, but it's super unreliable, but now you can make it, like, really strong. So I'm curious to see if it'll do better now.
I still think the Pokemon is my main issue with it is that I think the main reason why KB is in S tier is, you know, obviously Dragon Dance, right? But even if you're running stuff like Dragon Dance with loaded dice, Icicle Spears, and then like Fusion Bolt, and then like Dragon Stab, Iron Head, or like Roost, you know, standard DD set, you still kind of struggle with a lot of Steel types, right? And so like I feel like a lot of the time this Pokemon wants things like Focus Blast or like Earth Power or like Hidden Power Fire, right? And so like you're always in this weird position where you want to be mixed, but then if you're fully mixed, you're not taking advantage of Dragon Dance, and it's just in a weird position, right? Where like even despite having Dragon Dance, Icicle Spears, and a bunch of other stuff, you a lot of the time still want that special move, and so it just makes the Pokemon awkward to use. And I think since Gen 8, this Pokemon has kind of struggled a lot. Its peak in CDLA at least has definitely been in Gen 7 before it became S tier.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see if Psycho can kind of, you know, change that. Because I do think Kyurem is on a very solid team here, and so I want to see if he can make it work.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting to see.
I don't really have much else to add to it.
Yeah. Darina, do you have anything? If not, we can move on to like our top 3 and then the overall number 1 team.
Tinkaton is a funny Pokemon.
True.
But yeah. So what we can do now is, you know, each of us pick our top 3, and then based off those, we can pick like the one like winner if you want. The best team according to us in the division.
Okay.
Yeah.
When do you go first?
I mean, for me, I'm gonna exclude my team. I think my top 3 is probably gonna be between. It's gonna be in not in any order, but probably AJ's team, SirKill's team, and Will's team. I think it's for me. It's probably those 3. I don't know the order just yet. I think Rage's team could also be in there. Psycho's team could also be in there, but I think those 3 stand out the most to me. AJ, SirKill, and Will.
Yeah. For me, I think I would say AJ, Will, and Rage. I like SirKill's team. It's just something about it just like doesn't feel quite as nice as the other 3. I also like. I think Quin's team is also pretty nice. I like Kevin's team as well, and Psycho's team.
For me, like I definitely was gonna say like AJ, SirKill. They both look very fun and good. Like they both like not only look like good teams, but teams that'd be really fun to use. And then Rage would be probably my 3rd, and he might even be my favorite, just because like I think the offense is really solid. But I just think like Tinglu with Wish support sounds really, really gross.
Yeah, so I think from those 3 top 3s, the clear like 4 standout teams are AJ, SirKill, Will, and Rage. And I think AJ's team was mentioned the most, so I think it wins the best overall team of the division from
we all said AJ, and then each of us said
the combination.
one. Each of us said
of the next 3.
Yeah. So like none of them were mentioned 3 times. We said twice.
Yeah. So yeah, there it is. Primordial draft analysis. Good job on finishing the draft first, and so you get your analysis first. Good job.
Congrats.
And yeah, if you made it this far, I don't know. We already told you to comment something. So if you made it this far, leave a like and tell us in CDLA general chat that you love Hisui and Samra. I don't know. Let's go.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. It looks
make sure to hit the subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications.
If you get 5 likes on this video, then nothing will happen.
If we get
5 likes on this video, we don't release
out.
Desolate analysis. I've decided.
100 likes and I will post.
So if anyone in Desolate is watching this, you better like the video or you're not getting your analysis.
Shut up.
We really kept it to the end of the video to say that. That's insane.
He had to restrain himself.
If they are real ones, they gotta like the video. What can I say? You know what I mean?
Alright.
We gotta boost the analysis. We gotta reach 100 subscribers by the end of the decade.
Yeah,
By the
yeah.
end of the decade, yeah, that's actually kind of realistic. Have fun.
Take care, everyone.
Have a nice night.
But yeah, that's it.